Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 2 of my Clockwork Empires playthrough. As you can see, I've just started up the new colony. I'm going to pause here for a second. Between episode 1 and this episode 2, 3 hotfixes went out. They corrected a bunch of little bugs. Some bugs involving, I believe, the trade depot, and another bug involving vermin spawn from corpses, and then a third bug which involved the developers accidentally leaving in the development tools in one of the hotfixes. Anyway, so all that's been fixed, and we're ready to start our new colony. So I've started with the Instant Colony Starter Pack, which starts us off with a bunch of raw materials required to build buildings, and not quite as much food. And so here we are. I guess I'll be glossing over some of the basics stuff, just because surprisingly, I've been doing this for over a year now, which is both, people keep watching, which is awesome, and for some reason I haven't lost interest. I guess not for some reason, because I also enjoy doing this. But by the same token, I'm certain people who are continuing to watch me have seen me do this stuff many, many times. Ooh, berries. As I mentioned in episode 1, the exhaustion chance for forageables has been decreased. So you can now feel free to just forage to your heart's content, and you'll probably continue having berries for quite a while. I'm just going to take a moment to look at our surroundings here. This is actually not a bad situation. I mean, not a lot of... that reminds me, I should set the soldiers to enable hunting, and then tell my soldiers to hunt. Oh, nice. Yeah, I was saying, this starting location is actually pretty good, with maybe a slight shortage on trees, but that won't become a problem until much, much later. We have got trees in the near vicinity. We've got rock, a lot of rock nearby, so we're not going to run out of rhyolite like the way I do in some of my jungle games, where boulders are not quite as plentiful. We've got clay nearby, so we can start up on the kiln right away. One thing I am noticing, I am not seeing a lot of mineral nodes, like, well, speak of the devil. So there's coal. I would really like to see some hematite soon. That's not a problem yet. And conveniently, we have a nearby source of sulfur, so I can start making some of the tonics in the chemists. So not a bad start, all in all. Carpentry is well underway. We can see Marcus Mudlock. Actually, one thing we never paid close enough attention to is the sound design. So I'm going to shut up for a second. You can actually hear that there are hammer sounds when people are hammering things. Right, and by the same token, there are sawing sounds and there are shooting sounds. But if you just listen to these playthroughs, then you'll only ever hear me talking, or maybe you'll hear the music. But I do encourage you to pay attention to the ambient noises as well. So the progress bar indicates that the carpentry is nearly done. I'm going to get started on the kitchen. Despite the grassy fields, there's not a lot of flat land here. Fair enough, let's make a kitchen. I always make my kitchens too small, so I'm going to make this one really long. And because we have a ton of building equipment, building materials, I'm not too worried about running out. Let's chop you down for timber. Now I'm going to want to start a farm somewhere, which means I'm going to need some flat land. Nope. We'll flatten you out. That should do us for now. So, as we can see, the carpentry workbenches are being assembled, and as soon as they're ready, I'm going to start queuing up some planks. Planks are used in everything. In the meantime, let us rename some of our colonists. Nellie Euler, I'm going to rename you Hydunia. You are now Hydunia Oiler. Now you may notice, actually before I rename everybody, I'll ask you to take a look at the names of each of these work crews. Not only, actually not only does each crew now have a work crew name, the work crew name actually sometimes reflects the name of the overseer, the attributes of the overseer. For instance, okay, well, unfortunately, in the most recent developer blog post, they were talking about naming conventions and how names lend character to the overseers. And they've tied in the naming system to the work crew name system, i.e. if your overseer has a particular skill they are best at, which is determined randomly, and as it turns out, my overseers are good for nothing. But the name, their work crews now start with names, and sometimes those names reflect the best skill of the overseer, which is just a fun little thing. And Hydunia is eating a bushel of sausages, which is a new thing that we can make in our kitchens. So we can see Hydunia Oiler is in charge of the violent work crew because she has a brutish attribute. And Penzi Smithhewer, let's take a look at you. She has the sauced work crew because she is a drunkard. Oh, this is fiendish work crew because there are a lot of them. Wait, do I have any good overseers? The Bloody Band because they're brutish. The Pioneering Gang. Ah, okay. This is what I can write home about. They have the pioneering spirit. So, okay, so as we can see, the name of the work crew actually reflects the character of the overseer. That's pretty neat. Her Majesty's Watery? Oh, they're watery because they are fishy. That may cause some issues later when I ask my soldiers to shoot at fishmen. How are we doing for... Well, we've just run out of planks. Good thing we're chopping down some more. And, not enough flat land for a... Well, actually, that's not true. I can make a nice big plot here. I'd like it to be a little bit bigger. So the maximum size for a plot is 14 by 14. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Whoops. That's an invalid farm shape, by the way. Any farm that is a dimension of 1 on any axis will actually not support any crops. And I don't really want to tuck it right against the building. I can wait. I can wait for them to clear out that land. Yes, so there's been a bunch of new stuff in this revision. The big ones are the trade depot and increased detail with respect to the kitchen. The kitchen can make a wider variety of things or more involved recipes, and the things the kitchen can make see a wider number of uses. In addition to just feeding your colonists, they're also useful as trade resources, and also the more involved resources, more involved foods are much in demand by your upper class colonists. So the devs were on record as saying they did this specifically so that food is not just a thing you make to feed your colonists, but instead it's a system that ties into many of the other systems. Right? If your upper class colonists can't get the fancy food they want, they're less likely to be content. They're going to be unhappy and more liable to complain about the state of the colony, that sort of thing, which has a knock-on effect, makes them angry or irritable, makes them more prone to madness or violence or vandalism, makes them get into fistfights. It lowers your reputation, and all of those systems kind of interact with each other. And ideally, I think what the developers are aiming for is a system that is not overly complex, but is complex enough to give you a convincing illusion of being an organism, as an organic illusion. Who would be a good carpenter? Let's see, the brutes, the drunkards. The laudanum fiends, British again. Well, Hydunia, I guess Hydunia Oiler can be my head carpenter. Very important task. Carpenter makes a ton of modules now. In fact, I want you to go ahead and maintain 5 planks at all times, and I've got 2 buildings which both require loading bay doors. So I'm going to queue up 2 of those. And I'm also going to ask you to make some beds. And we'll wait here for the kitchen to get built. Actually, that land was flattened out very quickly. So this will be the ideal place for maximum size farm. I don't remember farms being quite this big. Oh, I've highlighted the wrong area. Oh, there goes the autosave. So we'll wait until the autosave is resolved. But by and large, you'll find that the pace of play is about the same as it's been for the last few revisions. Here we go, maximum size farm. Time to start growing some food. I'm going to start with the... Don't have a lot of... Actually, I've got a fair amount of foraged food. So if I grow corn, it's going to spend at least one entire day growing before I can harvest it for food. Whereas cabbage plants you'll probably be able to harvest them for food immediately. But corn is slower growing and it's more efficient use of labor. Wheat, it takes a very long time to grow, and it won't have anything to eat until 4 or 5 days after I've planted it. So I'm going to go corn with the intention that I'm going to transition over to wheat when I've got more workers. So I guess Pansy Smith Hewer, you can be our farmer overseer. Now then, Pansy Smith Hewer. Let's see. Yeah, that's fine. I don't have a lot of male over. In fact, I have exactly 0 male overseers. So, sorry guys, we're gonna have to wait for some more male staff to arrive before I can name any of them in your honor. I guess you hit the jackpot there, Hydunia. So the kitchen is I've neglected to build any of the kitchen modules. I'm gonna start off with 2 stone ovens and expand as I require more. Kitchen will definitely need a workbench, so I'm going to place a workbench here. I have misplaced the workbench. Fortunately, it's easy to move. I said it is easy to, there we go, move. That's where the workbench will go. I might actually have put it backwards, although that orientation of the workbench doesn't really matter. And I'll queue one up here in the carpentry so that one gets built. Here we can see Hydunia making a cot, and this is using the new boxed module system. We're up, new colonists, excellent. We'll accept you with open arms. Where modules get built at the appropriate workshop, placed in crates, which then go into the stockpile. From the stockpile, they're delivered to their eventual destination where they're unpacked and constructed. Let's make sure that those workers got where they're going. I don't need more than one additional worker in the carpentry, so I'm going to take one from the carpentry and put one here on the farm. And the rest of this is fine, I think. Although perhaps we take this random worker and assign you to the guard. And nope, can't build any of these. I don't have the prerequisite materials, most of which require stone, which I have completely consumed and have forgotten to mine anymore. Yeah, well, not too bad a start. We'll definitely have food, although it will be raw because I forgot to complete building the kitchen. Well, that brings us to the evening of the second day. We've gathered quite a lot of forageables, mainly in the form of steak, actually, although there's quite a lot of these berries. Ooh, there's malachite up here, and I'll wager this will be a malachite. This is a malachite node where I'll be able to build a mine. These berries have not yet grown back, but I can see there's a large supply of black fungus down here in the forest. Oh, and yet another aurochs. Looks like my soldiers are sleeping. I mean, they've got to sleep sometime, I guess. We're okay. Although I hope my colonists like eating their steak tartare, since I don't actually have any ovens yet. Yeah, well, the colony's going pretty smoothly. I'm not really sure what else to tell you. I think the biggest changes will be when we start trading. When I need to... Oh, a new overseer. When I need to start designating some goods as trade goods. And our new overseer is Male, Job, the man formerly known as Job Iron Temper. He's the overseer of the Beetley crew because he is a beetle fancier. Job Iron Temper, you are getting a new name. Although you can keep your first initial, because you are being renamed Yaroslav. Renaming family name as well. There we go, Prishinkowski. You're the overseer of the Beetley crew, and right now, well, I don't have a workshop to give you. You'll just be on general hauling duty. Oh, and here is our Victoria Ironton hunting for steak. So, colony's off to a good start. Not too exciting, but I think, as I was saying, we'll start to see the game differentiate itself in the mid-game this time. The trade depot, which is actually an office, is quite cheap to build, as is the foreign office, and we'll be able to use those to great effect to affect the game. As I was saying, the trade depot, we can obtain things we need, and if you'll remember back to my first episode, the trade depot was able to supply me with things like copper pipes and iron sheets, which were beyond the ability of my own colony to produce at the time. And in return, it's not that they were cheap, but I was lucky enough that I had found a source of gold. And yeah, so the trade depot was very useful in providing me vital building materials. And of course, the trade depot also affects your relations with your partner nations. Yeah, but we'll get to that in time. Right now, just a nice, idyllic new colony in New Antipodia. And why am I on New Antipodia? I just felt like it, because I think the last few playthroughs now have been in the jungle. And yeah, I wanted to see nice grassy plains. So we'll leave it there for now. My name is Alfred. The game is Clockwork Empires. The game is still in alpha. This is alpha 47, so there's a monthly stable release. And this one came out a few days ago at this point. There have been a couple of hotfixes, so hopefully there are no egregious bugs like the one that froze my session partway through episode 1. The game's available for purchase on Steam. It's in early access, so everything is subject to change. Not everything's working perfectly, but most of the underpinnings of the major systems are in. I'm going to continue this series for a few more episodes as we play through it. and hopefully I can demonstrate to you where the game is at, and if this is the sort of game for you. That said, thanks very much for tuning in. I hope this has been useful, and I will see you next time.